Welcome back to Galactic Alchemy. I'm your host, Ashuna, Galactic Alchemist, Energetic Healer, and Channeler for Spirits. On this episode of Galactic Alchemy, we are going to be doing an energy check in as we wrap up the month of July and get ready for the Lionsgate Portal that is coming up in August. We're going to check in with my spirit guides and the deities that wish to come and speak to all of you as a collective and see what they want us to work on, focus on, or what they would like us to know at this time. As I'm tapping into the energies to start our transmission and channeled message today, the first thing I'm being told to bring up is water. And water keeps getting brought up a lot lately, whether it's water shifting and evolving and changing the landscape of the planet, or water in an energetic need to hydrate and sustain our bodies. And right now, what I'm being told is to make sure that you are staying hydrated. So many of us walk through life in a dehydrated state. We are not drinking enough water and balancing the electrolytes within our bodies. So, being very conscientious of hydrating yourself, getting the right mix of magnesium, potassium, sodium, just really staying hydrated, but from an electrolyte perspective. Right now, as the earth keeps shifting and evolving and we raise the vibration on the planet, our body is undergoing massive shifts and changes on its own. And as it shifts and changes, it needs certain energetic properties in order to process these adjustments. And staying hydrated and having balanced electrolytes is one of those things that's very important. So if you know that you're one of those people who just doesn't drink enough water, take some time to have some water. I love to do water with a little bit of lemon and just a tiny pinch of Celtic salt. That is one way that I make sure that I'm staying hydrated and keeping my electrolytes in balance. I do also practice intermittent fasting. I'm not saying that you should be practicing that as well. That is a personal choice. But I do be mindful by taking a magnesium and a potassium supplement, especially on the days that I'm choosing to fast, again, to keep that electrolyte balance. So, really make sure that you are focusing on nurturing yourself at this time, nourishing yourself, keeping things in balance. Because right now, we're really being tested. What they're showing me is one of those like inflatable punching bags or those inflatable clowns that you can like punch and you knock it down, but it bounces right back up. And we are kind of going through an energetic punching bag of our own at this time, where we're getting knocked down at times. We're getting tested, we're getting pushed and shoved, and we're being asked to shift and evolve and change ourselves. And if we are not willing to do what we need to do to keep ourselves centered and balanced, and to bring back that core strength so we can't get knocked all the way back and have to like come back to center again, we can keep our center strong. That is going to help us. So as we go through these shifts and these changes energetically, prepare yourself for what is to come. Prepare yourself to be ready to shift and to evolve and to change and to do what you need to do to keep your center and balance. A lot of us are feeling really like we're spiraling out of control. And we're not really spiraling out of control. We're just allowing ourselves to get out of our center, our getting out of our center point. We're allowing things to shift and change us in ways that shouldn't be affecting us. So I want you guys to really focus right now at this time that you are in control. You are in control of the outcome of things. And I know some of you are not going to agree with me on this, but you choose how you react. You choose how you feel about things. You choose how you navigate through situations that you go through. And I'm not saying that everything that you're going through is a positive thing right now. We all get stressed out and put through stuff from time to time that we need to work on navigating through. But how we choose to stand up, stand out, do what we need to do for ourselves while holding our freedoms and our sovereignty, that changes things. So while life might be testing you and pushing your limits at this time, how you choose to navigate through those limits is going to make a big difference. So make sure that you're checking in with yourself. Are you putting yourself forward in a way that works for you? Are you being in alignment and being true to yourself? Because if you don't feel like you're being true to yourself, or you're being who you feel that you are at the center of your core, then you need to look at what you can do to get back into that version of yourself. Because having that strong center of, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, this is the direction that I'm moving forward in, and then you can start taking those steps towards achieving what you're wanting to achieve or work on your manifestations. That's going to change things for you. That's going to be a really big energetic shift. I'm being shown a white dragon at this time, and it kind of reminds me of Falkor from the Never Ending Story, if you're familiar. You might have watched that many times as a child if you're like me and uh, grew up in the 1980s. But I'm seeing this white dragon, and there's a lot of dragon energy coming in at this time. I know one of my personal guides is a black dragon. His name is Onyx, and he handles my karma and helps me with different things. A lot of times I will ask him to do silly tasks for me, like make the lights turn green so I can get somewhere faster, or to protect my car when I go into the store. But he, this white dragon is coming forward, and the dragons are really coming into the forefront again. For many people, they don't feel like the dragons are real. They're a mythological thing that just somebody made up. But they're very, very much here. They're very much a part of our planet. And they're starting to kind of come back and connect in various ways. And this dragon energy feels very protective, very nurturing, very welcoming. There's nothing negative or harmful about this. Think of them as helping to protect your sovereignty, helping to protect your freedoms, helping to make you feel like you can make the right choices for yourself and you can move forward in a good direction. White is also a color of like purity, of like fresh starts, of new beginnings. So think of it from that perspective, as the dragon is coming in and bringing that fresh start, that new beginning, that positive energetic shift in with that beautiful energy. Now, as we are moving in to this Lionsgate portal, there is going to be 1 to 2 really abrupt timeline shifts that we are going to be experiencing here. Whether that happens before the month of July finishes, or this happens around the portal itself, which is technically on August 8th, there's going to be 1 to 2 massive timeline jumps or shifts. And I want you to prepare yourself for the physical issues that arise when we timeline jump. Because when we timeline jump, it can be very disorienting to your system. You can feel very lost and confused. Things that you knew the day before are suddenly different. A lot of Mandela effects start to pop up. Is it the Bernstein Bears, or is it the Berenstein Bears? Did the Fruit of the Loom logo have a cornucopia on it? Things like that. But we're going to go through 1 or 2 massive timeline shifts or jumps, either just before or just after the Lionsgate portal. So sometime between my recording of this video, which is July 22nd, and the portal around August 8th. So there's going to be most likely 2 massive timeline shifts that are coming in. And the energy around these shifts really require you to make sure that you're taking care of yourself physically. So make sure you're getting sleep. Make sure you're staying hydrated. Make sure you're nurturing your body with food that nourishes you. I'm never going to tell anybody how they should eat. That is your own personal choice. But I will say that the more high vibrational food that you connect with, the easier the transition will be for you. What is considered a high vibrational food? Things that are grown from the ground. So that would be your fruits, your vegetables, grains like rice and quinoa, So anything that is more whole foods, plant-based. Now, if you want to add in animal products or eat the occasional processed treat, there's nothing wrong with that. But the more that you are feeding yourselves more of the whole foods, the plant-based foods, that is going to make this transition easier on you because your body is more energetically in alignment to receive these changes. Again, you do not have to eat plant-based. You could eat whatever you want. But just remember, the more you focus on those foods, the easier the transition will be for you. If you are solely sustaining yourself on ramen noodles and pizza and you're having steak for dinner, you're probably going to feel a little bit more sluggish and not as open to receiving the energies. So the energy is going to hang around you longer. It's going to cause more of a fog in your energetic field because you're processing all this other stuff that's making it harder for the energies to shift and evolve you. So if you are on a process of evolving and shifting and changing yourself, just keep that in mind. Again, I just have to keep saying this. I never tell anybody how to eat or how to live their life. I just make recommendations that spirit brings up for me all the time. Eat your fruits and vegetables. It's not a joke, guys. I know for some of you that's an issue, but find ways to incorporate that, whether that's a smoothie, pureeing veggies into a soup. Like, do whatever you need to do to get more of the high vibrational foods into your system. It's going to help the transition, and you're going to feel so much lighter and airier and more tuned in. The other thing is you might be finding recently that you don't feel the need to eat as much. And you're going to have moments where you're going to need to ground yourself. And so there are going to be times when your body needs you to eat more in order to process and shift and do energetic changes within your system. So if you have days where you're just ravenously hungry, it's okay to give in to that hunger. Your body is asking for certain things. So take a moment and tap in. I'm not going to sit here and tell you to go eat a whole bag of chips or do whatever it is that you're feeling called to do, but just have an energetic check in with yourself and ask yourself, okay, what am I craving? What is my body telling me it needs today? Because maybe you're needing some vitamin C, maybe you're needing some magnesium, some potassium, maybe there's vitamin D that you're needing to connect with, whatever it is. Figure out what your body is craving or needing in that moment. And don't necessarily go to really salty foods. As an example, if you're needing a little sodium, maybe all you need to do is put a little pinch of Celtic salt in your water and sip on that throughout the day. There's nothing wrong with having salty foods. I know personally, I deal with issues around having POTS like symptoms or dysautonomia. And so I tend to need more salt than most people need. I don't have issues around salt, but for some people, salt can be a problem. Maybe your body doesn't need as much salt as I do. So just figure out what your needs are, but do an energy check in. Don't just eat everything. Just be like, okay, what is it that my body is needing in this moment? Ask your body what it needs. It will tell you. It will tell you what it needs. Okay, what else? What else did you guys want to bring up today? There's been this feeling for some of you of kind of climbing uphill. You've been feeling like you're on this journey or this quest. It's almost like you're taking the ring to Mordor, if you know Lord of the Rings. And you're feeling like you just keep climbing and you just keep climbing. And you're just like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we at the top? Have we reached where we need to go? And spirit wants you to know, for those of you who have been on this journey and have been feeling like it's one big uphill battle and you're never going to get where you're desiring to be, you are getting much closer than you think you are. You're not as far back, you're not behind, you are exactly where you need to be. And for some of you, you need to pause, you need to take breaks, you need a little bit more time to move forward. Not everybody is going to say walk 10, 15 miles a day. For some of you, you can only do one or two, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Just keep in mind that no matter where it is you want to go or what you want to achieve, it doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time. So as long as you're being consistent, you're putting that effort in, you are going to reach those manifestations. You're going to make those goals happen. It's just a matter of allowing yourself to keep pushing forward. because you are so close. You're getting really close. It's like you can tell right now that after you get around the corner that you're going to be up there. You're going to reach the top of the mountain. So if you've ever seen the movie The Lord of the Rings, when they're climbing on the side of the mountain and the snow is flying, it's just like, okay, are we ever going to get to the top? Like you're at that point now where you are about to kind of go one more corner, and then you're going to kind of see that flat space where it's like, oh, okay, we've reached where we need to be, and the doors are going to open, and you're going to be able to be like, ah, I made it. And you're going to feel really proud of yourself. So be proud of yourself. Be proud of all that you've accomplished so far. Because for some of you, this has been a long journey, and one that's been very frustrating, and it's very emotional. And it's okay if you need to cry. It's okay to get angry. It's okay to be upset. Get those feelings out of your system. Let them get released. And do not hesitate to check in and ask your spirit team and your deities and who you like to work with to guide you and to help you. And I think for some of you, you've been feeling very disconnected. Like there's all this noise in the background and you can't hear what you need to hear. You can't tap in and connect with your spirit team, or you're feeling like the messages are getting lost in translation. And just know that sometimes when that happens, we have to go within and we have to tap into those messages within ourselves. But also, do not hesitate to check your spirit team. Because I'm going to be honest with you guys, I did that. I did that earlier in the week. I had a moment where I had a large emotional release, and I whined and I cried and I screamed and I yelled at them, and I was like, look, you're not showing up. I'm showing up and I'm doing the work, and I need you to start showing up and show me that what I'm doing is worthwhile, and that what I'm putting out there is resonating. And I need to start seeing rewards for what it is that I'm trying to achieve. Because sometimes, guys, your spirit team, they kind of sit back a little bit too much. And it's okay to check them, and it's okay to like put them in their place. Keep in mind, and I know maybe not everybody is going to agree with this, but we actually hire the guides that we work with before we come into this version of ourselves. We ask certain spirits to come and connect and work with us before we come here to earth. And as we start our spiritual journey, we might tap in and connect with various different beings or guides or goddesses or gods or whoever. But the ones who are specifically working with you, this is not necessarily deities like Shiva, Ganesh. These are like individual guides that work specifically with you. For example, one of my guides is a Lyran wisdom keeper. Her name is Shalari. She doesn't work with just everybody. She works with me because she's assigned to my journey. But put them in their place. And if you don't feel like your spirit team is working on your behalf, or they don't have your best interest at heart, it is okay to let them go. It is okay. We can have that Donald Trump apprentice moment and say you're fired. So don't hesitate, guys, to clear out the decks. If you feel like your spirit team is not working for you, or maybe you need something different than what you're getting, let them know what you need. Let them know what you need from them. And don't hesitate to ask for things either. Because as my mother used to say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And if you don't ask, you don't get. So make sure that you're speaking up and you're being very clear with them on what it is that you want or what you need, and ask them to provide that guidance. And if you don't think that you're getting what you need from them, then say, look, I release you from service and I want to bring somebody else in who's in alignment to get me to where I want to go next. I want to see the next version of myself. I want new guides to come in that are going to align me with that. If you're not here for my highest and greatest good, then I release you from service and I'm bringing somebody else in to replace you. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that, guys. I have done that before myself, and it's very refreshing when you do that, because it's you standing up for yourself, you acknowledging what you need. And some of our guides, they're a little too tough love for us, or they're a little too soft on us, whatever the situation is. But take time to tap in and ask yourself, who's working with me, who's not working with me. And if you guys need guidance on who is actually working with you and what guides you have in your corner, I'd love to sit down and do a session with you and introduce you to your guides if that's not something that you're able to tap into on your own. I can tell you about them. How do they look like? What name are they using? What messages do they want for you? I'd love to give you that insight and that information. But yes, right now, really focus on tapping in, connecting, speaking up for yourself. A lot of throat chakra is coming up right now, as well as heart chakra work. And I think that's part of, sorry, I tapped the mic. I think this is part of why I felt called to wear pink today. I was in this very kind of heart chakra, self-love kind of in energy when I was getting ready to record today. And there's something about really making sure that you're coming from the heart. Are you speaking from the heart? Are you being yourself? Are you being what you think is how you want to project yourself out to the world? Are you being authentically you and no one else? Because it's important that we're always stepping out as the version of ourselves that we want to share with the world. And if you're not happy with the version of yourself now, then what are some steps or things that you can start doing to shift and evolve and change yourself? And I feel like I brought this up with our first energy update in July as well. It's just really doing a personal check in. What's working for you? What's not working for you? What do we need to shift, evolve, or change in order to make ourselves comfortable, in order to feel like we're in alignment, and to get ourselves where we wish and desire to be? Some of you are not taking the time to really focus on your spiritual practices. And this doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, but taking some time each day to center yourself, to balance yourself, to get into kind of that meditative state. Maybe start your little spiritual things that you do. Maybe you light a candle or burn some incense, whatever you're feeling called or connected to. Be really cognizant of taking time each day to tap in, even if all that is just taking a few minutes in the morning before you get out of bed, or as you're laying in bed winding down for the night, you tap in and connect. But taking time to connect each day and kind of maybe jotting some stuff down or making a mental note for yourself. Maybe you start a little notepad thing in your phone, but like make a note of what's coming up or what you need to work on or focus on, but really being cognizant of self care and mindfulness right now, because we're navigating through energies that we've never navigated through before on this planet. And there's massive shifting coming. And these timeline jumps are really going to bring that to the forefront, where we are going to massively change the trajectory that we have been on. And when we do that, we need to be prepared. We need to be ready to be that next version of ourselves. Okay. Who else wants to come through and share a message? Okay, I do not normally connect with this particular deity, but they have been making themselves a little bit more known to me. I work a lot with gods and goddesses of the Hindu pantheon. And right now, standing in front of me is Vishnu. And I do not personally connect normally with Vishnu. I work a lot with Shiva, sometimes Krishna, and I'm very much with Ganesh. I love his energy. As you guys can tell, I've got a channeling with Ganesh here on my page. I also have a channeling with Shiva, which was, mind-blowingly good. So you guys should go and watch that when you get a chance, because, oh my gosh, the knowledge that he dropped was insane. But I have Vishnu coming forward right now. What do you want to share with the collective? He's talking about there being many faces. There's many faces of ourselves. We have many various aspects. So if you've ever been inside like a fun house mirror where you're being multiplied at yourself and you're seeing yourself in all sorts of different ways. And if I get slightly distracted, my cat is just coming over here and rubbing on me. Thank you, Kit Kat. So clearly there's been an energetic shift in the room because she loves to come and kind of adjust the energies for me. Okay. Are you going to sit and join us? Thank you, Kit Kat. But there's many faces and many aspects to yourself. And now is the time to really anchor in the aspects that are most in alignment for you. We have to take a look at what is working, what is not working. We need to look ourselves in the mirror and be able to like what we see. And if there are things about ourselves that we do not like, we need to start working on those aspects of ourselves. This doesn't come from a physical body, this is the way I look perspective. These are elements about ourselves. Like, do we tend to get angry very easily? Do we have a problem with being cluttered and disorganized? Like, what are the things that we are have going on within our life that is not necessarily helping us? It might be hindering us or blocking our path forward. And we need to take a look at the various aspects of who we are and what are things that we could do to shift, adjust, or change ourselves in order to be able to free ourselves from these aspects that don't serve a purpose. So if you know that you have a tendency of flying off the handle, you can go from 0 to 100 really quick. What are things that you can do to work on releasing some of that rage and that anger energy in your system? Because I'm going to tell you that anger and that rage energy causes a lot of physical issues. It could be causing stomach upset, it could be causing digestive problems. I actually had a friend who had so much rage and anger that she ended up having a lot of digestive issues with Crohn's and ulcerative colitis and all sorts of things. And a lot of that stems from not working through that rage or anger that you might have experienced at some point. So, releasing and letting that go, finding healthy ways to release that, whether that's rage screaming into your pillow, journaling, maybe taking a cardio kickboxing class, but finding ways to get that anger and that rage out of your system. Do not let your emotions fester. Do not say that you're fine when you're not fine. Find ways to calmly work things out. And if you don't feel like you can talk to the person you have an issue with, or you can talk to somebody about this problem, then express it in a way that works for you. A lot of times, if I'm having issues, I will journal about it. I might go in my room and have a cathartic crying session, or I might rage scream into my pillow, or I just start saying things out loud that needs to get cleared out of my system. Let the words flow. Let yourself express what needs to be expressed. I'm going to tell you, when you're done with this, you're going to feel amazing. You're going to feel so much better because you just let all that stuff out that was bottled up and building up all of that pressure. If you ever think of like a bottle of soda as an example, if you shake that up and you continue to shake that up, it builds up all that pressure in the bottle. And eventually that top is going to pop off because there's so much pressure built up in that bottle. That's you. As you let your emotions fester and that rage or that anger or that whatever is going on, if you continue to shove that down, it eventually finds its way out. And just like the soda, it is going to explode everywhere. So find ways to release and work through that. It's going to help you to keep your center and your balance. It's going to help you to work through things. It's okay to take a minute. If you need to take a minute and get away from something or someone or whatever the situation is, have your moment, process, but work through the rage, work through the anger, work through those feelings. Do not sit on them. Do not let them continue to fester in your system because they're just going to cause you more problems down the road. And you're just going to end up getting upset with yourself, or you might fly off the handle and do something that you end up regretting. And we don't want to go through that. What else do you guys want to bring up or talk about today? There's going to be a lot of butting heads is what they're showing me. They're showing me like two rams just headbutting each other. And there's a lot of kind of this fighting back and forth. And this could be taken in many different contexts. So it could be like a political context. If you're in the US and you're like, I'm blue, I'm red, the blue and red fighting. It could be, various religious feelings. One person's pro, one person's against. I mean, this could be taken in a multitude of different contexts, but there's going to be a lot of kind of these moments of like headbutting and coming up against, walls or issues. And you need to find ways to work around them, not work through them. So even though you may not necessarily always agree with someone's opinion on things, finding ways to diplomatically work through that without going and butting heads and trying to prove that you're right. It's not about proving who is right or who is wrong, because nobody is right or wrong. We both are right from our own perspective, and we are both wrong from the other perspective. So, I mean, we're both thinking the exact same thing, just in the opposite of each other. And there's no right or there's no wrong. There's just everything just is. So don't try to sit here and come across like you're superior, you're better, you have to take anyone down, you have to overcome anything. Like, it's not from that perspective. We need to focus on understanding that people are going to come in and they're going to try to test us or push us, like we were talking about earlier with the inflatable punching bag. It's going to try to knock us down, but we have to remember that we can bounce right back up. The way we are built, we can bounce right back up. We can come back to that center point. We come back to center doesn't mean that we have to go past that center point and go and make our point known. It's more about, okay, we're going to bounce back and we're going to come back to our center space where we are centered, we are grounded, we know who we are. And you can sit here and try to knock me down, but I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back to my center point. And that kind of brings back in that the mindfulness again. When we are being mindful with ourselves and we are doing the work that we need to do on ourselves, that allows us to stay strong and stay grounded. So really being sure of who we are, being grounded in how we feel about things, and not letting anybody try to taint us or affect us in a negative way. And just really working on releasing any kind of anger or rage, like letting that go. Just really working on letting that go and staying in that level of freedom and sovereignty that we're all born into. We're all able to do whatever we wish and desire to do. Because again, life is just a series of choices. We can make all sorts of choices, but we have to make the choice that's most in alignment for ourselves without affecting other people in a negative way, if that makes any sense at all. And I know you're like, well, how am I supposed to do that? I know it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but the more that you stay in your own lane, you work on focusing on building and strengthening your little part of the universe and letting the other things not exist. So, as an example, maybe you don't like someone who's in charge, somebody who holds a political office position, perhaps. Doesn't mean you have to wish ill will on them. Doesn't mean that you have to sit here and wish for their demise or try to say things that are negative about them. It's like, okay, maybe you don't like who's in office right now. Maybe somebody else doesn't like who was in office before them. Maybe we need to understand that, okay, we can't shift or change that, how the rules are laid out right now based on who's been in charge and how we process things. That's how they're going to be. We don't have to sit here and allow them to affect our little part of the universe. And how do we do that? By going within and focusing on the things that we do want to connect with, that do resonate with us. And we don't sit here and try to shift or change anybody. We just try to focus on ourselves and shift and evolve the things around ourselves that work and resonate with us. I never like to get political. So when I do bring up politics, because it is a really great way to kind of show two different sides of the coin, I try to bring it up in a way that doesn't upset anybody and doesn't kind of rock the boat. Because you could be blue, you could be red, you could be purple, you could be green, you could be whatever. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, whatever's going on is what's going on. And we have to focus on changing and affecting what we can control, not what we can't control. We can't change the past. We can't change the direction that things had been going in, but we can shift and evolve the future and how things will look going forward based on how we choose to act and react and what we want to connect with in this moment. Really staying present, really staying focused on the present moment, really focusing on what we can control, really taking care of ourselves and focusing on just keeping this layer of protection, of freedom around us. You know, yes, there's a lot of chaos going on in the world right now, but we cannot allow the chaos of everybody else to affect us. We have to just kind of let things go in the direction that they need to go, if that makes sense. We have to focus on what we can control, and we can control how we choose to live our life. We can control our own personal environment, and we can control who we choose to connect with. But we cannot sit here and force our choices on others, because that's stepping outside of the boundaries of free will. So don't do that. That would be like, as an example, no shade to anybody of any religious background, but let's say someone who's Christian, as an example, sits here and is like, oh, well, Jesus loves you and you should follow the Bible and you should be reading all of this, because this is the truth, this is the way, this is the light, this is the only path you can take, because my path is the only correct path. But that's not necessarily the case for everyone. Yes, for some people that's going to resonate and that's the message that they want to hear and that's what they want to connect with. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's your choice, that's your choice. But if they start sitting here telling you that you need to do what they're doing, then they're affecting your free will. So don't be that person who's trying to affect other people's free will. You can make suggestions, you can make recommendations, you can say, this is how I would tackle XYZ, but you can't force anybody to do anything. It's up to them to decide if they want to follow through with your suggestions or follow a different path. Okay, what would you guys like to talk about to wrap up this energetic update? What they're showing me right now is like these circles of light pulsing. And it's almost like there's these pulses coming off the sun. That's the best way to describe it. So if you picture like the sun in the center, and there's these like rings just radiating out, kind of like the rings of Saturn, but these are like energetic rings, and they're just like they're going out, kind of like a Wi-Fi signal gets sent out. And there's this like pulse or this energy that's coming in, that's starting to cause shifts and changes. And there's going to be a lot of this like butting heads, this division coming in, because they're showing me the Rams again. But all of this is coming through as things to try to disrupt or kind of take you out of balance. And I know we're going back to balance again. They bring balance up so much all the time when I tap in and do stuff. But a lot of us really need to figure out what we can do to stay into that balance point, that center point that works for us. But these energies that are coming out are going, these radiation waves of light that they're showing me, it's shifting things on a very grand scale. Things are going to be changing very drastically. And people are going to be processing these energies from different perspectives. So if you know somebody who is not very spiritually inclined, somebody who's not really into the idea of working on themselves, they just kind of treat life like, okay, well, things just happen how they happen, or they let life happen at them or throw itself at them, and they don't try to navigate and shift and change it in ways that work for them. um, this energy is going to affect them more than it's going to affect those who are awake and tapped in and connected. So really staying tapped in, tuned in, ready to receive. And that's where that mindfulness comes back into play again, that they brought up earlier. Just being mindful and ready to receive the messages as they're coming through. Because it's going to be a wild ride coming up here as we move into August. The energies are going to be shifting drastically. There's going to be a lot of weather changes coming in as well. I know for some of you, you're already experiencing the weather changes, but like there's going to be some drastic shifts coming in. And as these shifts happen, that's going to awaken some people. It's going to affect some on a very massive scale. But all of these changes are going to bring about a big adjustment. It's going to be a positive change at the end of all of it, but going through it in the middle of it, it's going to feel very overwhelming. It's kind of like a wave crashing over you and feeling like you're trying to claw your way to the surface to breathe again. That's the feeling that this energy is going to bring up for some. Not everyone's going to necessarily go through this, but for some it's going to feel very overwhelming, like waves crashing over you, this not being able to catch your breath feeling. And so preparing yourself now for what is to come, getting really strong and centered in who you are and the direction that you're moving in, that's going to help navigate through these shifts. I think some of the timeline changes that are coming in from what they're telling me is going to be to correct some things that are going on. There are positive and negative in everything. And there are forces that are on this planet that feed off of negativity and feed off of fear. And so a lot of times there are things that happen that are supposed to elicit a response from us that energetically feeds certain individuals. So if we look at like the pandemic as an example, that was a very fearful time for many people. And they were harvesting that energy of fear and that worry and that concern. And they were eating that energy up and it was sustaining them. And they were keeping us in that field so that they could harvest and feed off of that energy. But when some of these timeline jumps come in, it shifts things so that they don't have the control that they had at one point. So I think some of the stuff that's coming through, and I'm not one who sits here and predicts future events. I don't tend to do that. I don't like to tie myself into certain preconceived timelines because timelines can change depending on how we shift and evolve ourselves. And people are always on different timelines going on all at once. But when we look at it from that perspective, these collective timeline jumps are coming in to correct some paths or some things that maybe are being predicted or being portrayed as happening to avoid them from happening, if that makes sense. Because sometimes there are groups and different individuals, whether it's spirits, galactic beings, there are those who are here to help us get our freedom and our sovereignty back from these beings who keep us controlled and feed off of the fear and the worry and the negativity. And sometimes these timeline jumps come in because they're like a reset point for us to clear out potential outcomes that were going to happen and prevent them from happening. And it definitely feels like there's going to be some events that are being projected to happen that probably will not actually happen when these timeline shifts come in and kind of clear the slate, so to speak. I know that sounds like a lot to process, and it sounds very kind of coded and cryptic, but one thing I have seen a lot in the spiritual community lately is people predicting certain outcomes of maybe when somebody's going to cross over, as an example. And I don't personally agree with doing that. It doesn't align with my core values and beliefs, and I certainly don't feel that it follows the laws of karma. But some individuals like to look into that because they want to see a certain outcome happen. They want to see the version of how things happen in the way that they want them to. And I wish that we could get over the idea of having to try to take someone down or wish for their demise, so to speak. And if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. I'm not going to sit here and explain all of the details of it. But it was something that they're like, hey, you need to bring this up because it's something that's been bothering me. And I've been seeing a lot of people talk in code about certain individuals, having something happen to them that causes them to cross over. And I don't necessarily feel it. I don't sense it. Same thing kind of happened. This kind of ties into politics again, but same thing kind of came up during the election process where some people were seeing a certain outcome and then it didn't happen that way. But we also had a timeline shift prior to the actual day of the election. And I think that came in to kind of right some things. I'm not saying that any one particular person is better than anyone else because I like to stay neutral. I like to say I'm Switzerland. I stay out of any kind of conflicts. I don't pick sides. But I know that based on certain outcomes, the direction that things were going to go in are very different now than what they were. And not everybody's going to agree with the outcomes. Not everybody's going to agree with the direction that things are going. But that's, again, where we go back to that. We have to tap in. We have to connect and shift and change what we can change. And we need to focus on building our own little kind of community and connecting with our community and doing what we can to better our communities and find ways of working together and finding ways to bring communities together. So it's really about focusing on yourself, building yourself up, being the best version of yourself that you can be in the present moment, taking care of yourself, nurturing yourself, helping out others when you're able to, but not to your detriment, and working on shifting and evolving things that you can shift, evolve, and change. One person can't necessarily completely change everything, but you can shift and evolve how you live your life, how you connect, what resonates and speaks to you. But we really need to find ways of bringing harmony back, bringing balance and peace and love back to the equation. No group is better than any other group. There's no hierarchy. We are not playing King of the Hill. That's not what we're doing. We are all equal. If you look at a football field, we are all on the football field. And we are all the same on this football field. No one's better than anyone else. There is no hierarchy. There's no climbing to the top of the stadium and saying you're number one because you're at the very top of the stadium. It's nothing like that. We are all on equal ground. Yes, not everybody's going to be the same. Not everyone's going to resonate with everything the same. And that's why there's so many different ways to connect and tap in and to live life. So focus on living life on your terms in what resonates and works for you. Focus on shifting and changing things that you can shift and change. But don't sit here and wish ill will towards anybody or focus on someone's demise or try to, predict something. It just gets messy and complicated. And I feel like I've been talking about this way too much, but they keep insisting that I need to bring this up because it can be a problem. And a lot of times when the collective focuses on certain things, it affects everybody on a grander scale. So the more that we can focus on finding ways of coming together, of healing each other, of healing from a grand scale perspective, healing the planet, bringing back that balance, that is going to help us far more than focusing on removing one person. Because if that one person wasn't in power, let's say, that's not really going to change anything. Yeah, you might not like this person, and so you're happy because they're not there anymore. But that doesn't change things overall for the collective. It doesn't really do much of anything. Whereas if maybe you were pouring into your community and bringing about this great support system of people who loved and appreciated each other, that's going to go a lot farther for you than focusing, say, on someone's demise. So I know that was very coded. If you get it, you get it. Let me know in the comments if you do. But keep it clean, guys. We do not sit here and fight. We do not get political on my channel. Political comments will be deleted. But I love all of you. I support all of you. I want you to live life on your own terms. I want you to be happy. I want you to be joyous, and I want you to have everything that you want and desire. I want you to be able to manifest the life that you want for yourself. Don't sit here and worry about what everybody else is doing or how everybody else's actions are affecting you. Focus on your actions and focus on how you're reacting, how you're choosing to live life, and how you're pushing yourself forward. Because at the end of the day, how you choose to navigate through life is what's going to affect you far more than the choices of others. So, on that note, guys, I love you. I support you. I appreciate you. If you stuck it out this long, leave me a dragon emoji in the comments, please, so I know that you've watched the whole video. And I will be back again soon with another message for all of you.